DreamHack Open is brought to you by Corsair, Intel, and Monster Energy.
Well, what do you know? They actually cut the whole video off just so we could get things started here. Getting this party started, though, I didn't host it, and of course I am now. So here we are nonetheless. Do I have Malasaki? I do have that of Potter, and I do have a matchup on our hands. You know what? The Giggle Bus is in town. Ladies and gentlemen, how are we doing this fine evening?
Doing well, Trace. I'm doing better than your microphone situation. I'll say that.
You hate that or you love that?
I love it because you're just flexing on us right now with the AirPods.
It's not even meant to be a flex. It wasn't even supposed to be one of these weird flexes, but here we are nonetheless. You just have to.
It's just that AirPods. Easy for you.
The show has to keep going on, Christine. You know that as well as I do.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Hey, speaking of it is what it is, what about Liquid versus the Pug Godz? That's where we find ourselves, and that's a pretty weird one right off the top. So what are we thinking?
I don't know what to think of the Pug Godz just yet. They just made a roster change in the last 24 hours. Dazzle will now be slotting in for Android, who qualified with the team. And Dazzle is a solid player, but he's quite different than Android. Android usually touted for his mechanics. Dazzle, a player who's been a leader of teams, quite vocal at times. He's kind of one of those glue guys, and I'm not sure if they're going to be able to slot him in just like that and be able to combat with the team like Liquid.
Yeah, definitely. And in our second match there, it's Triumph versus Chaos to follow up in that second series. It's our second NA matchup of the day. And even that one, I mean, we see here Grim is debuting with Liquid. Triumph also is going through some turbulent changes with their roster. So NA side of things is kind of wonky. It's all over the place. But I got to say, for the Zed Pug Godz kind of thing, a really cool storyline that could happen is Cooper could have like one of those statement series here today in this opening match and kind of make a statement for himself and say, hey, I was the guy that you should have picked up. I think you guys might need a stable opera on your side of things. That's kind of what I do. So if he can have one of those statement sort of series, I mean, it could really spice things up in NA, I think.
Yeah, I really love that take.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's about right. I mean, we look at Cooper as one of these players that not only does he have the Abadir blood, but he does have that, that validity in him to come out and change the course of an entire series if he's popping off. Now, you hate to look at it and say that, but I also have to ask, is it Z or Zay Pug Godz? Because you put a little finesse on that one, Christine. Just real curious how we're feeling about that one going forward.
How are we, Maui? I think you call it. What are we saying?
I've been hearing Z Pug Godz.
Okay.
Yeah, the E is just there. You almost it's a long E. Yeah, it's a long E.
Yeah, it's like a multiple E's. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's basically the way we're looking at it. And speaking of looking at it, let's take a look at the lineup itself, featuring Marky, Infinite, Zelsis, and Dazzle. Now, we did talk a little bit about Cooper over here, but ultimately, and I guess it's just from our conversation beforehand, Maui, is the fact that you said, hey, I went and watched 85 demos of this team, and then they came in here and they said, you know what, we're going to change our roster. So you basically wasted about how much time on that?
Yeah, 85 demos. Let me do the math. Yeah, about 50 hours. About 50 hours of my time just completely wasted, and all the strats from Pug Godz that I was waiting for, that I was hoping for, this tactical mastermind team. No, this team was never really going to light it up in terms of executes and crazy strategies. It was always going to be a team that relied on their firepower, the intuition of some of these players. So Dazzle slotting in for Android, I mean, it's still a question mark for me. That Dazzle was actually supposed to be playing with another team in the Mountain Dew League, but now he's going to be aligning himself with this roster, and hopefully he corrects. Hopefully he's able to find some kind of correction with this team, because it seemed like Android was having a little bit of difficulty in terms of slotting in just that way. Maybe there was a little bit of a turbulence, to take from Christine's wording, that it just, the fit wasn't there for them. And maybe Dazzle will be a personality that aligns with this team just a little better.
And, you know, that is the weird reality that we have. I mean, obviously teams and rosters change and fluctuate from time to time. But if you are one of these undercard teams like the Godz, you're going to try to get your stuff together so that you can march forward down the field, that you can keep the ball rolling, especially against a team Liquid. I'm sure they had something to say. Let's hear from them.
Hey guys, Zelsis here from the Godz in Atlanta, Georgia. Well, our team kind of died 2 days ago, and we didn't really know what was happening, if we were going to play, if we weren't. We had just a few altercations with Android, I guess. Android won't be playing with us, and he just saw the game differently than us. We didn't see eye to eye on a lot of the things. So we're going to be using Dazzle now. We have no idea how this is going to go. We have no practice, but you know, we have some very skilled players, some very skilled individuals. So hopefully we can make something happen.
Well, they're hopeful. I guess they've got that going for him, but even he knows it's a little shaky right now when it comes down to this lineup overall. And I think he's bang on with what he's saying. They're not entirely sure how to feel about it themselves. It seems like a strange situation they didn't forecast or really know, or really have that lead-in time that they probably should have, huh?
Yeah, this is kind of a crestfallen Zelsis, and he's a guy that can really keep his spirits up, but you can see on his face there that even he, in this face of adversity, he's just having a difficult time really showing that they have the energy, they know that they have what it takes. I think he's being pretty realistic about the situation.
Cool. Well, you know, and you hope the best for them, but they're not the only ones that are undergoing roster changes around here. As all of the headlines have read out, as everything has pointed to it, it is Team Liquid that have replaced Nitro. Now we do have a young Gremlin in our reaches here, and he's sitting front and center. What do we know about Grim? For anyone that's watching right now, they've been following Liquid. They're like, who the hell is Grim? Well, I'm going to ask you both the same question. Potter, who the hell is Grim?
That's a good question. He's certainly a name that has not been spoken in the upper echelons of Counter-Strike, but I first saw him at Flashpoint 1 just a few months ago playing with that Triumph squad, and man, he is so damn deadly in that server. His ability to find those multi-kills, find the holes, and just really be an anchor for that Triumph squad. It was impressive to watch, and I think really slotting in for this squad for Liquid, it's not going to be as cut and dry. Let's be real, Liquid is just way up here as far as what their expectations are for themselves, for their squad. So definitely there might be some sort of a teething process here for Grim, but really the role, the positions, a lot of these things are very similar between Grim and Nitro. So this might be, potentially a really nice honeymoon period here for Liquid here for the next couple weeks.
But Maui, I'm going to ask you this question, man. And we look at Team Liquid. We're looking at a large picture here. They bring in Grim. Even Christine says something like, hey, maybe, Cooper, this. I mean, where do you think they should have taken this if not Grim?
I would have loved to see them pick up an Opper if it weren't Grim, because there's really no primary for this team. We've seen Naf pick it up. We've seen Stewie pick up the op as well. And they're both very proficient with it. But man, sometimes you just wish Naf had that rifle because he's so good at playing around cover. Yeah. And maybe Stewie would have made a different aggressive play if he had that rifle. But Grim, there's no better rifler that they could have picked up in the North American scene. This guy has so much tenure now. He's been playing at the lower levels a lot, but he's been absolutely dominating T2 competition. When I was actually briefly his coach for his time on Space Station Gaming, he was just such a standout player. His work ethic as well is so impressive. This guy deathmatches for 2 hours every single day. No off days ever. Always just 80 plus hours in the past 2 weeks, even during a player break. This guy is, he lives and breathes Counter-Strike, so there was really no one better that they could have picked up, in my opinion.
So what you're saying is he hasn't been tainted by Valorant, is what you're saying.
No. I don't even know if he's touched the game.
And that might be the way that he wants to keep it, especially now that he's been given this opportunity. Let's hear about Team Liquid from Team Liquid before we jump into this matchup.
It feels pretty good. I think it was a pretty good break. It was the first break that I actually didn't touch CS, but missing roster changes. I think we're excited to come back with a new feeling and a new start and just see where it takes us. I still think we're a really good team. Removing a player, people might not see how much change there is, but we lose a lot from a player like Nitro, who's played with Liquid for so long, and we put together for a year and a half. So like a lot of the quote-unquote basics for us is, everyone's supposed to have individual responsibilities to understand that. And now that we've removed that, it's kind of like starting from the beginning. It's like we have to explain what was the basics to us, and it's kind of hard because we might not know where we should start because we don't know how much we lost with Nitro. Yeah, we joke around to Grim a lot too since he's joined, and it's only been a few days. We told him that this is why we picked you up. We're trying to destroy these teams online. We need you here. Like, we need a little help.
Interesting. Okay, so now we know that Stewie2K is jacked. And not only that, he's ready to get in the server with Grim. And with that being said, he's talking about beating up on teams online. And when we look at this Liquid lineup and you compare it right over to the ZPug Godz, I think it's pretty apparent who's got the more firepower. But does that translate into the map vetoes at all? Because that's what we need to start talking about now, is what maps we're actually going to be playing on. And if there's any weaknesses here that potentially ZPug Godz could exploit. Where do you guys think this is going to go?
I would probably expect that ZPug Godz would pick something a little more puggy than Vertigo, but they do go with that, and that'll be interesting to see how they're able to slot Dazzle into this lineup. Inferno, the pick from Liquid, is that should actually favor ZPug Godz as well. It's a map that they definitely have some experience on.
This is very interesting. I completely thought that Liquid would pick Nuke here. They picked Nuke 4 out of their last 5 series. Also, Nitro is that upper hut player. It was the perfect slot because Grim is also that player. So this Inferno pick is kind of a curveball for me. It threw me for a loop. But as Maui Snake says, ZPug Godz are pretty proficient on this map. And I actually really like this Vertigo pick as well, because when I see Liquid on Vertigo, I see Elige. So that seems to be their biggest win condition. So if Elige doesn't show up and have one of his games that he usually has, then Vertigo is going to be pretty challenging for Liquid.
You think so? And even, you stack on top of that, the fact that both sides are kind of running, not with full-on new rosters. I guess there's just a question to be had here about how much has been implemented, or how much each of these teams can bring to the table, or how much is actually going to rely on a sort of puggy style of play. And I guess if you're looking at this from a far away, Maui Snake, Mawasaki, however you want to be called, what do you think?
Well, Maui Snake first of all.
I know.
No, it's okay. And the thing I have to wonder about this veto for Liquid is just a little bit is that this really does play into ZPG's hands. But I think that Liquid should be going to this with enough confidence that they don't mind if the veto may favor ZPG just a little bit, because on paper, Liquid should be beating ZPG every single day of the week. There's really no world in which anyone should probably be predicting that ZPug Godz would be taking this one, but I do think that ZPug Godz may surprise a couple people with how prepared they are on these maps.
So really simply put, Christine, is Liquid going to lose this series?
No, they are not going to lose this series.
Okay.
I don't think there's any world where Liquid should even make this close, but as I have to echo Maui Snake's thoughts as well, is the firepower on ZPug Godz is absolutely there. So if Liquid don't show up, if they don't have a great honeymoon period, then things, like I said, will get very interesting.
So we have ZPG taking on Team Liquid. We're going to cut to a quick break. We're going to come back and we're going to jump right into the action that is this best of 3 right here at the DreamHack Open Summer, everybody. Don't move a muscle. You'll miss it all. You definitely don't want to do that. We'll be RB.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. We are now one step closer to the very start of Grimm's Liquid debut. I mention him first and foremost because, of course, I think this is the tale of the tape this evening. Myself, Scrawny, joined by Vince. From across the pond, you've come over for some North American Counter-Strike, my friend. How does that make you feel?
Makes it feel great, man. Because as you said, there's some serious storylines here. You know, Liquid, a team that have had a bit of a tumultuous 2020, I think it's safe to say. And now you have Grimm stepping in for Nitro, who's been a great servant of Liquid for the longest time. And I'm just really curious to see what goes down. But for the Godz, you could say very much the same thing. Dazzle comes in for Android, bit of a last-second head-scratcher of a change. It's going to be very curious to see what kind of impact those two changes have to this match.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think, like, let's be real. Some would say this is a new chapter for Grimm. I would say this is the beginning of a new book. This is his chance. And of course, he starts it off with that first frag onto Dazzle, our most recent addition to ZPG. It's going to leave the CTs still close enough to this A site to try and hold. I mean, it's the numbers game, Vince, on this bomb site. And I think Liquid, they're going to be feeling it up early on and consistently hitting this until the CTs can stop them. So here we have it. Grimm again on that entry, finds his second kill. He's taken down and napped Stewie. Another couple. Dude, just headshots. Headshots and more headshots. And that's exactly where you want to start this day. Team Liquid 1-0 up early on Vertigo.
Oh yeah, great for the confidence of Grimm coming in with his debut. 2 insta headshots, easy round, and Liquid on the board. The Godz, you heard Potter, you heard Maui Snake talk about this being a bit of a head scratcher of a pick. It's not necessarily the greatest of Pug style maps, and would things collapse, but we're gonna have to give them a little bit more time before we give the diagnosis here, Scrawny. Full Deagles, full purchase on CPG, and they are stacking the A site advantage with 3 players, the other 2 situating around the B side. Already some damage inflicted to Liquid though. Stewie and Elige have their kneecaps blown out, and now a boost comes into fruition, but not going to see any players as of yet. Liquid not fully pulling the trigger.
Yeah, they're still a little bit downwards, tucked in for the moment, but Infinite flirts with it. And there's Grimm's noggin, popped by the Deagle, drops off. Not only a 5 versus 4, Vince, but substantial damage on 2 other members of Liquid, both Stewie and Elige on shaky knees, but Nafly's also down now. That's Dazzle with another Deagle, and the utility's low too. This isn't a good conversion look for Liquid. Things are getting stressful, and this is really what I want to see. You know, if this is the beginning of the second, you know, story, the new epic for Grimm here, you don't start off fighting, you know, the majestic pumas of Furia. You know, that's the end of the book. You start off versus like the garden goblins, and that's kind of what ZPG is. You know, fresh roster, fresh whatever not, but they're causing chaos here in this second round. We're at that 40-second mark, bombs on site, and it's planted. They're lucky to have the post plant. Can they hang on?
Doesn't look good, does it? They're hanging by a thread at this point, and the scissors may be able to snap down. Smoke deployed. Stewie gonna take initiative. The smoke crimp once again. There's Infinite and Celsius both chip in with frags, and they are trying to stick onto the bomb. Stewie is still around in the shadows, shows his hand, but 1 bullet perforating the smoke will get the job done. It's a successful retake, and this force has paid out in spades. Look at how many rifles, SMGs, the Godz can now pick up from the corpses of Liquid. What a turnaround.
Yeah, screw SMGs, man. We're talking rifles through and through. Triple Galil and the AK on top of it. I mean, this is nice timing by Infinite, not only just waiting around for the first moment when he didn't see anybody, but not giving it up either, right? Team Liquid, they kind of stagger stepped into his crosshair, and that beauty of a wall bang. I mean, he knows what that T in the post plant's trying to do. Common wallbang, but still he hits it with the Deagle of all things, and I love that Stewie tried to buy as much time as he could. Player didn't have the kit for the defuse, but Deagles go both ways, Vince, and Twist is going to start this round off with one of his own. So still plenty of utility up for ZPG, but they're looking to not fall victim to the calamity that they just gave Team Liquid. We've got back and forth early on here on Vertigo. It's exactly what you want.
Man, I'm getting flashbacks. We were casting just before the player break. We had a game where 8 rounds in a row, 4 spies won. Do you remember that? Just the madness.
I couldn't forget it.
Into that again.
Yeah, it's been a nice little while. I'm glad we had the player break. I'm excited to see everybody come in fresh-faced. I know, some of these players have had a real chance, a little vacationing. Everybody's coming in with a little sun-kissed tan, Vince. Yourself included, I'm sure.
Mate. We get like 3 days of sun here where I live. Stewie and Twist, last 2 players left, and any of those forced by shenanigans that we were alluding to are a thing of the distant past. The Bug God's not going to let that happen, and they do take the lead, but Liquid, they bided their time. They didn't fully invest. They got a plant in the first round, and therefore 3 AKs, 2 Galils, our first full rifle round.
Yeah, here we go. Glad to be here. Also, happy to see ZPG doing something early on the CT side. You know, we said that Team Liquid shouldn't even let this one get close. Potter saying that, you know, nobody should be expecting anyone to predict this big of an upset, and I agree with all of those statements. Absolutely, you'd have to be a little, well, more than a little insane to disagree, but you also shouldn't sleep on the individuals of ZPG. We've seen these guys hit hard at times. You know, Cooper, Marky, they've been staples of Tier 2 North American Counter-Strike for what is years now. Dazzle as well. He had that great stint with Rise Nation. You know, that was kind of his big call to action. Zelsis with C9. Infinite, another guy that I think just doesn't get much credit at times. I'm really excited to see what he has to offer in this series. But we have to bide our time because smoke grenades waste time. And Stewie 2K waits for no one, decides to run through it, gets himself the kill. Elysian Grim over the side of his shoulder with another couple of their own. So Zelsis and Marky, last 2 players up. They've got some utility to dump, but other than that, a massive man disadvantage.
Yeah, with Marky down at $600, they may think about maybe pulling the plug. They do have enough funds on the rest of the team, but it's not worth throwing away the weapons, the utility that they currently possess. So, understandable decision. It's going to sting, but it does allow you to bolster up that next buy. You can even pick up an AWP if you want. You have the likes of Dazzle, it's going to be on 6K. Cooper's going to be around that 6 to 7K mark as well. But Liquid, importantly for them, have connected the dots and done so very well indeed. They don't lose a single player. Great news for their bank accounts, and we will be tied up at 2 apiece. And I completely agree with you, Scrawny. I mean, the Pug Gods, sure, it would be easy to overlook this team. They don't necessarily have the star kind of talent. You don't have the likes of Elige over there, who is definitely one of those players that you feel like has the potential to be a world beater, like one of the best, if not the best player, if he can find that kind of flurry of form. But at the same time, is there maybe a sense of a bit more pressure being put on Liquid shoulders, assuming that they are the heavy favorites, that they are the players and the team that people expect to win this game? Plus, you add online play into the cauldron of a potential upset. I think all of the potential ingredients are there. But the Pug Gods, they're going to have a buy, and they do opt for the AWP on Cooper. And Liquid not going to really bother upgrading any of their guns, and it's the Galil that goes down first. Cooper's aforementioned door pierces the smoke and will insert into the cranium of Stewie, so ZPG have first blood.
Oh, Infinite, though. He gets mollied out of his position, goes soaring into the crosshair of Grim. Cooper, he's stuck around. Dangerous game to play. Dazzle peaks, and he takes down Elige. So a man advantage maintained here by ZPG. They give up that ramp control. They offer it over to Team Liquid. We just saw in the round previous, Liquid squeeze that ramp in order to get that huge man advantage, post-plant, etc. This time, not so easy. Cooper takes a dangerous chance playing on the other side of that railing in order to get the peak. And I mean, it's a smidgen of a gap of an angle, and it worked. All of a sudden, we've got Liquid redirected over towards the B site, met by a smoke off Marky. He has himself an incendiary, but he is toppled. Naf gonna lose a lot of health. Zelsis tries to hold this. Frag grenade goes in, and 2 players could go down, but instead, it's a little bit of chip damage all across the board on the side of Team Liquid. Look at these HP bars. Cooper, he is the last player with full-blown health. Everybody a stiff breeze away from death for the moment, and there is still utility to play. None of it, however, deadly. Just those flashbangs, a smoke to potentially cover bomb, but that bomb itself is halfway gone, and the T's sit back patiently.
Yeah, lack of ordnance is going to be an issue. The angles that Liquid are assuming are so solid, and even though smoke is put down, Twist knows exactly where to spray. Out goes Zelsis. Cooper thinking about a peak, takes significant damage, and he's going to pull the plug, but Grim not going to allow them the luxury of saving the AWP as he tosses it away. He knows his life is deemed forfeit, but he's done the job that was asked of him, and Liquid will regain the lead, and this is where ZPG's finances are going to start to run into a bit of a wall.
Yeah, now it could definitely start to sting. Team Liquid, it's very exciting to see them, utilizing Grim early. He's been on that front runner over towards the A site. We saw him kick off the pistol with a very hard entry. And it's kind of funny, Stewie just mentions it straight out the gate in our little pregame interview. Liquid struggled online, so they went ahead and grabbed the very best online player that has seemed to have come out of this recent coronavirus situation, right? We returned to the online play, and I think it's fair to say that Grim is the biggest success story across any region in terms of adapting and succeeding in this realm. He's really made a name for himself. And again, you could say this is a new chapter when he begins with Team Liquid, but his first chapter ended yesterday when he got his old team qualified to that EPL spot. And now it all starts anew this morning. So easy anti-eco so far, 5 versus 4, but again, this boost, well timing. And it's not the first time, it's the second they find the T's kind of looking the wrong direction. But here comes Grim, the solution for Liquid's issues. Another couple of kills leaving Cooper on his own. He's got 1 kill thus far in the map, and he'd need 4 to rob this round.
With a USP, I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible, Scrawny, but it's close enough. Surely there's no hope at getting anything. If he gets a kill, I'd be amazed, let alone more than 1. So Liquid looking to double the deficit on the Godz and move 4-2 in the lead. And yeah, I mean, I asked this question, I want to say back in probably early May, that would this whole coronavirus situation lead to more players that are of an online kind of nature to get more opportunities? And I think Grim is the answer. And it's an emphatic yes. And so far, he's had a good game for himself. He's actually top of the scoreboard with 7 kills. Nearest players, Elige on 4. Of course, we're only getting into our 7th round, so I'm not going to get too carried away. But if there's any debut jitters, I think they're a thing of the distant memory right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, Vince. I'd say like the first success story would just be his team in Triumph. We had that first stint. We go back to the DreamHack Masters, the Blast era. Those big online events where Triumph were genuinely making waves, just a couple of rounds away from like playoffs in some of those ones. So huge moves. And then the biggest of ones, of course, Grim, not the only man with an AK this round. His team well equipped, and so are his opponents. Zelsis, he's going to be flirting inside of middle, and he's going to be met by Molotovs. A couple of those bottles come barreling over, and then the smokes follow suit. Stewie, looking to lend a helping hand in terms of utility, blocks off that elevator room where 2 CT rotators come back. And they can afford to do that because we had ZPG go deep down on ramp. They figured out it was clear, and they understand that this has got to be some kind of B-focused hit. Now, whether it's a mid to B split or just an all-in is yet to be found out. But with a minute on the clock and a lot of members of Liquids amassing at the bottom of this staircase, you and I know exactly what's up.
Oh yeah, and you better believe ZPG are about to realize that too, but it could be too little too late. They've already expended a lot of their utility with quite a bit of time left on the clock. The B site is being ripped, but Grim is going to get the first. Twist also dipping in with a second frag, and Grim doubles up his kill count for the round. So exceptional entry work again from the youngster. ZPG can do little but save. And now suddenly this 5-2 deficit is going to start to get a little bit worrisome, considering that they did pick up that second round off the back of a defuse and a force buy. When these rifle rounds have come in, Scrawny, it's been pretty one-sided.
Absolutely. I think if you're ZPG and you were hoping to maybe catch Team Liquid unprepared or a little bit sleeping here on Vertigo, that's not going to be the case. I want you guys to realize the level of intent that just went into this round for Team Liquid. Go back to the end of 2019 when they were trying to battle the demon that was Astralis. Vertigo was what was added to the map pool in order for them to try and have a chance, right? They always needed that third map decider. The map pool never worked, and they worked really hard. We got a kill at the very end on Cooper to try and make this happen. The start of this round, we've got 2 Molotovs and a smoke grenade over towards elevator from Liquid, and then the server falls silent. The side of ZPG know that ramp is completely clear, and even though they had numbers stacked up on that B site, Vince, what were they met by in terms of an execution? Well, you had 2 smokes back on green, blocking off both sides. That left the CT to take the top rope, standing on that white wall in order to see over. Grim, easy prediction, gets himself the entry. And on top of that, you had the smoke grenade inside of the bomb site on the orange boxes, which also removed vision of his second victim. So everybody inside of that B site was just flustered by the utility alone That's before we start talking about the individuals popping off on Team Liquid, most notably the man of the hour, the man himself, North America's newest superhero, Grim. 10-3, 7 rounds deep.
That would be an interesting superhero name, Grim, wouldn't it? I feel like it would kind of be a Punisher kind of character.
Yeah, I get you.
And so far, I mean, he's living up to that mantle. Straight up wrecking ZPG. They do have a half buy in effect, an M4, which was saved over from the last round with some Kevlar chipped in from Zelsis and Dazzle, a few upgraded pistols and a flashbang. Nothing really to write home about, but remember that they did win one of their 2 rounds when it came to Deagles. It came to a force buy. Liquid unlikely to fall for that mistake twice. They did catch a glimpse of Cooper and see him scurry away as grenades land all around him. And our Molotov going to be placed down there just to make sure that ramp peak doesn't come into fruition. So Liquid mixing it up, not consistently just pushing the classic A hits. But here comes a flank actually down from Infinite and Zelsis. They're going to try and wrap around the back, but Nafly's watching the angle, AK in hand. Oh, he turns his back. Is timing going to work against him? Perhaps not, as he does snap back into action, realizes where 1, there could be 2 or even 3. And now Infinite, the last player to fall. Liquid don't lose a single player. Full house of kills. Nafly with 3, Stewie with 2.
Yeah, we've got big banks starting to stack up on Team Liquid. I want to say the entire team on the cusp of 10K savings. And on top of that, you can see the individuals now just oh so crisp. Naf, just nothing but headshots. Stewie clearing up short side on his own and putting us back into a position where ZPG have themselves a bye. We've got Coop on the op, and you love to see it. He was a key piece to one of their first gun rounds being victorious because of this deep ramp peak, and he's coming at it from a different angle. So far, different result. He's trying to just shave that shot through this very narrow angle, but he's got to be cautious here. There's bullets and incendiaries being thrown back his way. Flashbangs as well. His supportive teammates have been pushed back, and he lingers on a little bit longer. Goes for the repeat. Takes down Grim. Infinite and Dazzle with a kill apiece themselves before Nafly gets on the board for Team Liquid. It's a 2 versus 4, but it's Twist and Naf still standing.
It is now standing, but my goodness, is he limping. 14 HP, hemorrhaging at this point, but already a kill. Twist, you feel like is going to have to be the main man. He's going to have to take point. He's going to have to get some entries. They do have time, and Twist opens his account in the 9th round. Some spray through the wall, still time to play with. They don't have to rush in for a plant just yet. Well over half a minute on the clock. Twist, waiting, anticipating a potential push, because the Godz don't need to overextend. Can he see just a millimeter of the head protruding over the boxes? Now he can, and takes a bit of damage. Molotov tossed in, and Twist sprays up there. Is this 2v4 actually on the cards? Twist planting safely behind the boxes. A slight gap in the smoke, not going to cost Nafly his life, who's now gone for the AWP. He can get into one of those one and done positions. If he trades evenly, this puts Twist into a great position. Both CTs have kits. They're going to throw a smoke down onto the site and try and force the T's hand to come out into the open. Nafly whips out the knife, goes for a shot, but Zelsis sprays him down. And now Twist 1v2 has to try and stand his ground, but he's not going to be able to get it done. The time's going to be very close, but this defuse will become a success, and ZPG get that 3rd round. What a beautiful effort, though, from Liquid.
Yeah, awesome attempt in that 2 versus 4. Naf, I love it. Goes in for the knife. I mean, it's that or try and rattle an op shot into a target that he knows has already defused through the first half of that bomb. So go for it. You know, I would love to see Zelsis' perspective. How the hell does he find the headshot in that moment? You know, Naf give him another half second, and that beautiful baby blue skeleton knife is ripping through poor Zelsis and his team's dreams of winning that 4 versus 2. Don't forget it. A 4 versus 2 that still came at a cost. And you can see the cost because we've got the Kalashnikov saved for Zelsis, and still his utility is near non-existent. And that can be said for the rest of his team. Twist looks to engage a little bit faster here. This one picking up the pace, picking up the tempo, and Zelsis still picking up kills. But Nafly is going to rob one back. Stewie's down to 13 HP. We've got that wall of smokes, and a fresh reload for Zelsis gives him a chance at toppling a Liege. Now Stewie with a narrow angle, just waiting for a counter-terrorist to step into it. He drops Cooper, 2 CTs over the side of construction. He confirms they're all here, and it's a man advantage yet again. It's Grim to take it back. He's low health. Zelsis trades it, and Nafly just creeping through the smoke, crawling into the victory position if he can finish them both off. There goes Zelsis first. Infinite tries to chase. Time becomes the problem, and there's no way they clutch this one. ZPG, he jumps on bomb, but I just don't think it's there. Prove me wrong. Infinite sticks it, and yes, sir, a 4th round through for the CT side.
Oh, it's ludicrous. The last 2 rounds have come down to the wire. And again, as you highlighted at the start of round 10, the finance is not in great shape for the Godz. I think Liquid know 1 round victory, eradicate the CTs. They are flat out broke. And so, yes, it's going to be disappointing you've not clutched. And another day, this would be an 8-2 scoreline. It would be a ridiculous T-half, but they're just within reach. They've got to get these kills, though, and Liquid going to mix it up. They're going to actually spread out. They're not going too aggressively. Twists down, watching a potential B flank, while Elige taking control over middle. Has Nafly just behind him, and it's Twists watching the flank that is going to be rewarded for that patience. Marquis, though, does at least put him down and evens the odds, but Liquid now going to be able to stretch out those CTs that little bit thinly, and Marquis has been punished. That opens up in this onto the B side, and you better believe Liquid going to jump right on top of that. But Dazzle's frag does keep ZPG in this round. The CT's in a 3v3 retake.
Oh, but then there's that timidness, Vince. There's an element of timidness. Do you take the chance? Look at the money left over. Marky, 1,000. Dazzle, 400. Infinite, just a $50 bill. Zelsis and Cooper with nothing but lint in those back pockets. There's no money. They have to go ahead and save. There's too much on the line to force the issue here and now. And I would say with the difficulties they had in that last attempt at a B retake, why not keep Cooper on his op? Let him have it. Let this one slip through. Hard times for ZPG ahead, but Liquid able to remain 1 step ahead by utilizing mid this time. You know, really stretching out the defense, really pressuring that B site from multiple sides. And Twist's good job at least getting that 1 kill when he was pushed in a 2v1 straight out the gate by the B defense. So it's another one for Liquid. It's a chance for everybody to just kind of catch their breath a little bit. ZPG going to have to calculate what they want to do.
And they do have 3 weapons, which would suggest that we could have a force behind that, but they decide against it. That's very interesting. Okay. They're going to decide to just stick with the 3 guns and not go all in on this, knowing that maybe if they do go all in, they're not going to be able to really drop like M4s. It's going to be a really mixed match sort of bargain bucket buy. So it does give them those options into the next one. There's still enough power here. That being said, though, Infinite gets culled straight away from Stewie's hands, and that AWP rings out again.
Yeah, he just got baited into that one. You know, they were giving him the fight. They were showing some shoulders, showing a little thigh. Elige gets him to commit to the deep peak, and down he goes. Dazzle, he's going to have to try and dodge grenades. I thought his crosshair was going to be offset by that. He was following the trajectory, staring at the fireworks in the sky. He was looking to get uppercut, but we are right back into the 4v4. Don't forget, just the 2 weapons for ZPG, but Cooper's op is deadly, Dazzle's rifle too. You know, I think if you need anybody to stand in on like a 24-hour notice, Dazzle is the rifler you want. And we'll see if this round he shows his worth. I believe he just got boosted up onto the box. He goes down immediately. Marky with a headshot through the smoke off the P250. That's what you love to see. Another 3v3, but it's a post plant now. They catch Naf trying to fall back, and now a man advantage. Can they hang on? It's Stewie on the op, and Grim with the AK shaved down to an even 2v2.
Oh, that peek from Stewie is sublime, and Zelsis stands, but he has no Kevlar. He was one of the 2 players that didn't go in for Kevlar, didn't go in for a buy, just a P250 on him and Cooper. And he knows it. He knows he has no chance if he stands tall, tries to escape, and that door gets closed, slammed in his face. And it's Stewie who started the round off with a kill that will end it very much the same way. Liquid, 4-round leads. The Godz, though, will be able to get a buy, but it will be without an AWP, but plenty of utility. However, Scrawny, they are skimping on defuse kits here. Not a single kit in sight.
Don't be a loser. Buy your diffusers, Vince. That's what you always tell me. And it doesn't reign true here for ZPG. But that's not a problem if you don't lose a bomb site. So let's see how hard they'll fight for that deep control of ramp. Straight out the gate, they get that rifle duel, and they tag Elige down to 16. A frag grenade could be exactly what it takes. Dazzle frazzles the first frag here versus Team Liquid. There's still 3 members of ZPG grouped up on this A site. Infinite, you fell for this last round. Don't you dare peek around that corner yet again.
That will be the call, probably. on the TS right now. We've got the advantage. Don't peek. Don't give anything away. Liquid will punish us. It is a Liege that's down, which is a big part of the puzzle. Grim just wide swinging through a smoke and a flashbang, which was tossed in from Stewie. He is going to get them the 1 kill, but now Liquid have been kept submerged. As Infinite's choices are pretty grim, to be honest. It's burn or get shot, and he decided the bullets are the best way to go forward and to go down. 3v3, we've been in this territory a few times already. The Molotov gets blocked. That's awkward. That stops them from re-peeking that angle, but now they're going to turn their attentions to a potential flank. 2v3 though, Scrawny, and a bit of time to play with. This is such an important round for CBG. They need to get this.
Yeah, Naf sitting back. Stewie's got some nades in hand. Smoke grenade goes over. That's going to block off elevator close. Could enable Twist to come in from short. He gets dinked. AK best M4. And Marky's at bat. Jumping to the top of this box, a deadly thing to do. And Stu is having none of that. Gives cover and nearly catches up all the way to Grim. 25 kills between Stewie and Grim. And that is a thing of beauty. You know, Maui Snake on the desk, he touched on this pickup in Grim for Liquid. And if they weren't going to, this is what he said, if they weren't going to go for a committed opper, right? Because that's something we haven't seen from Liquid in X amount of time. That Grim was an excellent choice. And I mirror that sentiment. Grim is an excellent choice, hands down. You know, his teammates, his new teammates, they may be able to say that they were the fastest winners of the Intel Grand Slam in Counter-Strike Go history, but they didn't do it online. That's where he succeeds. And right now he's pulling Stewie up by the straps to get him there. So 2 heavy hitters for Team Liquid as they sit prettily 5 rounds ahead of ZPG. Just looking to close off this defensive half with maybe a couple other, but they have to calculate it down, Vince. They've got to crunch the numbers and get everything they can. A little bang for their buck here in the 14th. We've got CZs, a few Deegs, and grenades. Not so bad, but it's another rapid one from Liquid up the ramp.
Liquid have already stumbled to a similar buy. Being said, they didn't have this kind of firepower, and I think it's safe to say they're a bit warmed up now. They're not feeling too lumbered, and Crim again just goes in so aggressively with the AK. Tagged down to 11. But this man, he is nobody. ZPG put on the back foot. Ali's going to be helping out the newcomer. And Zelsis, the last man standing with a lowly CZ, is going to be in a post-plant 1 versus 5. At the best case scenario, maybe he can get a kill and save a gun going into the last round of the half. But Liquid in such a commanding position here. Going to be getting double digits regardless of what Zelsis goes for. They're going to be looking pretty. And it seems like the Vertigo being allowed through and to be picked, maybe not the best course of action for ZPG in hindsight.
Yeah. So far, not so good. And he's going to get pushed as well. Maybe, just maybe, he can rob something away. He knows the footsteps are close. I want to talk about the format, Vince. The format of our event here, DreamHack Open Summer 2020, brought to you online. And, you know, normally at Opens... Oh, what? Stewie? What is that? Jumping CZ headshot? Get out of here. You're not taking any of our guns with you, Zelsis. So that round comes to a close with no survivors. But normally, Vince, in our opening group stage matches, DreamHack Opens have historically always been best of ones until elimination is on the line. And, well, that can sometimes favor our upsets, of course, right? You find that middle ground on a map, you come in fired up. If you're the underdogs, and you know you have a good chance to genuinely prepare for your opponents and whatnot. But we heard it, ZPG. Zelsis literally said, no practice with this 5-man core. Absolutely impossible. They made the roster change in the last like 12 hours, it would seem. And so on top of that, you know, maybe we get to see another map out of them. Maybe that's what they need to reset in between. Or maybe I'm writing this one off before it's even done here. Because Zelsis, he's got himself a couple kills at the top of mid. A 4 versus 3 situation. Even in the best case scenario with 5 rounds at the end of this half, you have to feel like ZPG just completely outclassed. And that's not to be rude. You know, it's just the reality of the situation. I think that once we start looking at their other opponents here in Group A, the likes of Chaos and the likes of Triumph, there's a chance where their individual levels could be enough. But we're expecting Liquid to be in the finals of this event. And I'm willing to say that in the very first map of their very first match. Okay, write me off if you want, but let's be real. It's Liquid. It's a treat to even have this team at a DreamHack open. Look at Stewie 2K. His op is finessing up ramp. How many times has he got that close kill on the orange boxes with just a flick of the wrist? And now he's taking headshots with him too. Another post plant in the 3v3. Can Liquid hang on to this one?
They have a pretty good track record, but I will say that 2 of the 4 rounds from the Godz have been in similar situations like this. It's come down to 1v1, 1v2 retakes. However, Stewie, again with the AWP, is just isolating Infinite, who has the weight of the world on his shoulders, and he will crumble. 11-4 halftime score. And keep in mind, this was ZPG's choice of map.
Ouch. We'll be back after the break, ladies and gentlemen. Team Liquid to the CT side. We'll see y'all there. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It's good to see Twitch chat tuning into our virtual dance floor. Of course, that is me in VR shaking my ass on stage for you guys and looking to bring you here to the second half of Team Liquid versus a ZPG. To the T side, they go, Vince. They've got a couple flashes, smoke, and a molly, and a little bit of patience, so it seems, sitting pretty at the base of ramp.
I respect it. You know, you've just been completely decimated 11-4. You can understand if they just went for a screw it, let's just go for a rush and try and take Liquid out of their element, out their comfort zone. But you know, they're playing to their own pace. They're playing to the beat of their own drum, and I respect it. But will it be successful is the important part. And now they're going to be trading where the bomb currently is going to be possessing. That's going to be Infinite. In come ZPG rushing up the ramp. They will be moving into play. Elige landing the headshot onto Marquis. And the Molotov tossed in towards the back of the side. Cooper hiding behind the sandbags. Bomb still yet to get planted. They need someone to pick that up and to try and force it and impose the will onto Liquid, who are going to be setting up for the retake. Grenades lined up, but it's too little too late. They've already scampered away. And ZPG will be keeping themselves just about in this round. Yes, they're a player behind, but they have a post plant. They don't have any grenades to play with. Flashes being tossed in from the CTs, doing more harm than good. Actually landing in the eyes, but Grim spinning around, gets 2 kills and nearly a third. And a Liege comes in to help him out. Last player, Zelsis, has now been spotted, and they're going to be sticking on that site. They have a kit at their disposal, and a Liege is going to be locking it down with twists. Liquid take the 12th round and the second pistol. ZPG, though, do have some options with that post plant. Okay, I'm not sure if you guys can hear Scrawny or myself. There we go.
And Elige, he's going to find that one through the smoke. Cooper, over the top of the box, sees nothing, nada, zilch. So they're going to move that bomb back over towards the base of B, Vince.
They most certainly will. However, this time, unlike the pistol, they've lost the first player so early on that Liquid can just lock in position. They have a very solid foundation. Molotoving down to the bottom of ramp affords them the luxury of retreating one of those A defenders. Make that 2 actually. Elige's going to be joining Nafly. And Grim is also aggressively, regardless of T side or CT side, the guy just won't stop holding W. He won't stop getting kills, but it's Elige that's going to be taking 2 of them away. Finally, Grim gets his hands on 1 before he goes down, but the information's been gathered. And Shui2K will be getting a 13th round on the board. This is just looking hopeless now for ZPG. I don't want to call it just yet, Scrawny, but this is feeling like it's Liquid that have shown up and they're in form.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're utilizing what was supposed to be, you know, their secret weapon. Or rather, I don't think it's much of a secret because it's not much of a surprise. Grim hits headshots when the guy plays online. And, you know, when the whole COVID situation hit, I remember saying, like, you know, there will be players who emerge and begin their career in this online realm without the pressure of LAN, without the pressure of crowds, etc. And I thought it was going to be like newcomers. You know, when we saw teams like Triumph and Chaos making waves, I was like, well, this is what I expected. But I wasn't so certain about somebody making a leap into the top tier of any certain region. And that's where we've gotten because, you know, the situation has extended. And the reality is Liquid needed firepower. Grim has given it to them. And right now he's given it to ZPG as well. 10 rounds the advantage for Liquid over the top of this. Obviously, just versus the little measly pistols, we're not all too impressed. We want real bloodshed. We want, you know, some real hand-to-hand quite combat, and maybe a full gun round from ZPG will give us exactly that. They've got the AKs, they've got very few chances, Vince, at bringing this one all the way back, but it starts here and now. Grim, he just barrels over top of the smoke grenades. Cooper and Dazzle with a kill apiece, bring it back ever so slightly. Now it's Nafit bat, and he gets back around the side of the crane, giving Dazzle nothing to really shoot at. And Zelsis with Infinite by his side, looking to buy a bit of time and wary of the flank. No CT yet in that position. They're elsewhere, but they're starting to figure out that A site is the target for these Ts.
Still plenty of time as well, so they have to be wary. That potential for rotation is always on the cards. Vertigo is such a small map, a very quick flank and rotational map at that, but ZPG making sure they get the silent drop down. Infinite doesn't want to give any position away. The longer they wait on ramp, the more that screws with Liquid's mind at a potential rotation. And this is maybe where they send one of these 3 players away towards B and effectively makes it a 2 versus 3 in favor of the terrorists. So this is why they're taking their sweet time. But in doing so, Liquid now have a very good opportunity if they get the first flurry of frags to just time ZPG out. And keep in mind, it's 14-4. This pretty much is the safety net, and Liquid are now moving around the back. They know there's no possibility for rotation. They know it's going to be an A hit, and Stewie 2K puts Zelstis down, and with his death, that surely is the round to follow. Infinite and Dazzle don't have the time they once did to try and pick and choose. They're going to have to just force that plant down. It puts the two of them in very isolated situations, but there is a smoke at least to lend them a helping hand. It allows Dazzle to get back to the sandbags before he's neutralized, leaving Infinite in the 1v2, tries to play the off angle, but his head gets splattered, and Liquid now have an 11-round lead and 11 map points.
Yeah, way too much for ZPG to come back against. You'd think Nafly buys time that round, just flirting back from the ramp. And, we had that game of chicken kind of in the mid-round, right? Where it could have been a B play. You saw both Twist and Naf in elevator and CT spawn respectively, turning, keeping an eye on that flank, because there was the possibility of a B hit, like you said. But I mean, they look down their options and realize that without a bomb plant at B, you just sit on side of A site. Stewie's in a prime position to flank. We see him shave one of the 3 remaining players from the T side off right before anything can actually happen on that bomb site itself. So everything went perfectly for Liquid in the mid round. And it all kicks off because Grim sprints, hops, and flies down ramp with the MP9 in order to kick off that last round now. So ZPG, good luck. You've needed it this entire time, it seems. Bit of a monstrosity of a showing here from Grim to kick it all off, but Twist is the first casualty here in the 20th round. He dies alone at B. Stewie's going to come over to maybe try and deal with this, but all the while, we've got utility, gunfire, and audio cues being given up at A. Elish, he gets aggressive, and he gets punished. Zelstis, that opens a door where he could possibly come swinging in through mid, but instead, he looks to double back. Infinite closing the gap closer to the A site as Grim finds a narrow angle overside of ramp and finally gets something done here for Team Liquid. This would be the 2 versus 5, already turned down to the 2v4, something we've seen them nearly pull off earlier in this map. But Zelstis, he finds that emergency route back over to the B bomb site. It's completely clear. Great call. He's created the space for the bomb to be ensured it has safety. And he waits for the CTs to make their move. Nice peek off of the frag. It's all on Stewie. 1 versus 4 with a kill already. He tries to take down the bomb planter, but that is where he's stuffed. You said 11 map points, Vince. Well, now it's only 10.
Yeah, and that optimism and hope is got to be what ZPG really hold on to here. Like, okay, cool. We're still a mile behind on our choice of map, but the pressure is low. No one really expects us to win, right? Yeah, I mean, you got to be optimistic, I guess. You got to take it 1 round at a time. Are they heavy underdogs in this situation? Absolutely. Are they likely to win this? Hell no. You got to believe in yourself here, Scorny.
Yeah, you win a round. Cool. Let's do it again, guys. Come on.
More of the same,
like you
right?
said, man. Nothing to lose, but a lot of things they need to win. Frag grenade goes deep. Cooper and Infinite going to be tagged up by that one. I wonder if Alicia's position comes into fruition.
I don't think it's one that he's used so far, or at least not too many times. They haven't played this close scaffolding angle. They've typically been very aggressive down ramp or playing inside. And they have Grim just behind him. So if Elish does take that first point of call, Elish can get Grim to just wide swing in. They're not going to be checking
nasty.
this. Oh, this crossfire is disgusting, and this should be the round done. This should be the map done. A 3-player spray down. The only casualties, Nafly, but the damage surely already been done.
Yeah, Marky and Zelstis, they'll be left to try and walk into the B site. Twist, his guard is on high alert. He's dropped that Molotov already. He knows they have to be on the cusp of this. He takes a position that actually offers his life over to Marky. That's the opening. They decide to try and sprint in. Stewie with the flash slows Marky down, and he takes a deep angle, just looking to hold off any kind of a quad peek while his teammates come over. Trajectory on the utility tells the T's that there's at least 1 defensive member still up close and personal, but the other 2, where are they at? The answer's on your flank. Zelstis, he's trying to find cover, gets his head taken clean off by Grim. 3 kills here in what could be the final round of Vertigo. Marky, he is completely pinched, pinned, and done for. 16 rounds to 5 as Liquid takes ZPG's map pick and kick this series off with a 26-9 showing on the new kid. Big plays by Grim.
absolutely beautiful plays. And he was so aggressive, Scrawny. He wasn't just last hitting plays. He wasn't just stealing kills. This guy was leading the charge. He had no fear. I love to watch that kind of gameplay. He was so aggressive and absolutely deserves the score.
There was moments on that A ramp where I'm like, is this Furia? Am I watching art? Like the pistol round on T side, he comes sprinting in, just glocking people's faces off. The MP9 jump off of the crane was just ludicrous. But I think what it tells me is A, he doesn't have fear. And I think that comes by playing with the likes of Team Liquid. We're talking about a ridiculously talented team that has had some online struggles, but Grim struggles not. Will they continue to succeed in this series? Well, time will tell. So we'll take it to a break, and the analysts up next will meet you guys on map 2.